Another evening, and welcome to Prosperity Insights right here on Radio After 6 at Hot 87.7 FM, and of course Mingletainment. We do agree now and admit that it's through Mingle that you get everything. Did you confirm for me?
Yes, I did. Anybody in the diaspora or anywhere in the world can listen to Hot FM.
Nice.
Via Mingletainment.
Nice. And today I'm very happy because I'm with a guest who's going to be recorded, and we're going to, for the first time, have a recording, so it'll be fun. Now, before the guest starts to speak, today I was happy to see a report that the mayor of Lusaka went and busted one Chinese barbershop in Lusaka that had Mandarin signs up. And not only did they have Mandarin signs, they were actually discriminating, because it was proven in that they gave a discriminatory price and then mentioned that it's closed. But then upon inspection, they found that they were actually operating and cutting some Chinese man's hair. Now, I have said that on this platform, and on every platform I have, I'm going to be speaking up on this. And let me clarify. We are not racist. I'm not racist. I love the Chinese because the Chinese bring so much richness, especially their culture. Their culture is amazing. I love their traditional Chinese culture. I love their, Confucius and all the teachings of Buddha and whatever, in as far as wisdom is concerned, deep stuff. And of course, who doesn't like kung fu?
Bruce Lee.
But you know what I'm saying. But apart from that, this whole idea of them taking over Africa is freaking me out, eh? Like the last few months, I've been doing some deep studies. I'm like, geez, these guys are actually seriously taking over Africa. It's no longer funny. There was a time when it was like, this guy, you didn't look so serious. But now, do you know we have 75,000 Chinese? I need a confirmation on that.
I just heard that number from you today.
Not true. I asked, and in fact, they were even saying they are not very sure, because I talked to a gentleman from immigration. He obviously can't mention his name, and he's not a spokesperson for immigration, but he's a brother in the Lord. So I was asking him, Chief, what's the story with the Chinese? He says, Mdala, let me tell you that we deport them. We are always rounding them up. We've got raids we do, like the way they used to do raids on the Congolese. Now they do raids on the Chinese, because they've got raids at Comesa there, Tanzanians and Burundians and whatever, East Africans and Congolese. So they also do raids in many Chinese spots, because they hide themselves around. And then, when they make inquiries, they discover these guys came on some investor and then, since disappeared into the underground and setting up all sorts of things. So they're always arresting them, locking them up and sending them back. But it's like they come in droves. So I think we need to really wake up, eh? We cannot allow our country to become a colony of China, because that's where we're headed if we're not careful. And once they start putting, restaurants with their own signs, then you're in trouble. Because you try that in China. I triple dare you to try it in China, and then you'll know. You'll understand when they say there's no freedom of anything in China, my friend. There they just beat. And then on top of beating, they lock you up, and then you have to eat that crazy food. I mean, already eating Chinese food in a restaurant is tough. Think of prison. You remember Zambia? I'm telling you, the day they're deporting you. And, thank you, Jesus. Was it place I'm Z that? That place I was at. Well, that's how rough they are, and they don't compromise. Chinese, just from the airport, the guys don't even smile. They don't understand. So you point a sign, and then you say,
sign language.
And then apparently Chinese have the same challenge we have with distinguishing one Chinese from another.
From the other.
Chinese also have a problem distinguishing blacks from blacks.
Wow.
So it's like they look at you, and it's so funny. They got a passport, and they're like,
trying to see if it's actually
the first time I saw that, I was like, dude,
it's me.
It's me. Then they ask a translator. He's asking why you look younger on the photo. Older. It's an old passport, dude. That's an old passport. Nah, master look the same. But of course, when you go through that facial recognition, that thing is powerful.
Yeah.
Because all those things they have facial recognition, so they do know that it's you, even if you look a bit funny. So that's the Chinese for you. They don't mess around. They don't play. In their country, 1 week late visa, you're locked up for months. And they don't have human rights over there. I don't know. I mean, the guest will clarify if there's habeas corpus in China, but I doubt, seriously. Where they shoot people for corruption, I doubt habeas corpus exists in that country. So there you have it. I just have to do a rant on China. So we move on, eh?
Indeed.
Today, I'm very, very fortunate. This is one of my special, nice guests. I like this man. He's got a great mind, and we will be having fun today as we feature him because I like his analysis. He's one of those that does very interesting analysis. And one thing I like about him is somehow manages to come out very objective. But he tends to have my objective sounding, analysis, which doesn't, come out so obviously rubbing, or seeming partisan. So I think that's very clever. And I think I can understand because when you look at his background, he's a lawyer now. But he has a background as a journalist. He's a published author. And he also was a renowned political analyst specializing on African affairs. I did manage to read one of his articles where he was speaking about some famous Kenyan reporter that seemed to have... No, he wasn't a reporter. I think he was a blogger or a reporter or something. But he was with AP or AFP or Reuters or something. And he disappeared and the guy has never surfaced ever since. So I enjoyed the article he wrote up on that guy. And then he actually made me go and do a whole read up. I looked for his articles and I really... okay, so there was a guy like this. This is very interesting. And then he's previously served as senior advisor and spokesman of Zambia's fourth president, Rupiah B Banda. That should be fun when we speak about that. One of our most interesting presidents we've ever had in this nation. Ever. And he has also sat on a number of government committees dealing with the economic sector of the country. He obtained an LLB degree from the University of Zambia and a bar practicing certificate from Ziale. So it's not just one of those. He practices. He's certified. Then he's, as a practicing lawyer, he has played various roles as an official, lawyer, and advisor in various issues concerning mining in Zambia and other southern African countries. Why these mines are giving us grief. Then, or maybe we got it wrong. We shall hear. Maybe you won't speak because he said, I represent them, so I'm not allowed. Then, he has represented a number of mining companies on wide-ranging issues, including energy. What's this one which is fighting right now? Zesco, CEC, correct. Taxation, environment, and disputes arising from development agreements with government. He's also a practicing arbitrator. Do you know what that is? An arbitrator. The one who comes to do things when...
But in Deo.
Let me help you guys. And then sometimes I think they also help when there's a serious dispute. And now people say, I think Tigabane chap. So you clarify. He was in the city of Lusaka where he attended Munali, right? Where he excelled in debate. Makes perfect sense. And completed his grade 12 in 1995. And he is involved in sports, currently holding a position of vice president of the Zambia Judo Federation and patron of the Black Rhino Football Club. I've seen him with the judoka outfits. So I was like, okay. So I was wondering whether ni judo or ni karate. But can't ni judo. So don't mess with him because he could do, a thing and you could be on the ground. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, gives me great pleasure and great honor to feature for the first time on Prosperity Insights, not on the station, no stranger to the station, but first time on this show, the one and only Mr. Dickson Jere. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Jere, let's begin. And first of all, I'm very, very happy to have you. Thank you for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule, especially as a counsel.
Me too. I mean, it's a pleasure to be here.
Indeed.
And when I was listening to you, going through my CV or resume, And I was thinking that sounds like an obituary at my funeral. So at least I know what you're gonna say. God forbid if I die.
God forbid, indeed. We need you all the way through to about 80 or 90. You know, people like you carry a lot of experience. And one of the things that I think, let's start right from there. One of the things that kind of saddens me with our African style of leadership, and this is African, I'm not talking about Zambia because we don't do politics on this show, but African style of leadership is the inability or the seeming inability to tap into the experiences and knowledge that is vastly spread across any country. You know, there are look, most African countries today at least are 30 to 40 years independent. So can you imagine the amount of experience in that 40 years of independence? How many former civil servants, former ministers, former PSs, former whatever are in those, including presidents in some countries like ours? Why do we seem to have a challenge with tapping into this readily available resource? But Dickson,
maybe it's the system we adopted as Africa from the Western world.
Really?
Yeah.
But how come they are good at doing
yes,
it?
because that's their system. We grew up in a different traditional system where our chiefs
Talk to me.
used to be the leaders, and they mobilized us in such a way that even information used to pass from generation to generation. And if there's a crisis in a village, where do we run to? To the elders.
Yes.
Yeah. So in an African setup, we already have that kind of system. Then now there's this Western democracy which was imposed on us,
Yes.
which now we are trying
that's the
to
right word,
adjust.
imposed.
Yes, we're trying to adjust now to the standards of the Western countries.
I personally don't agree with the
I mean,
democracy. personally.
you gave a good introduction on China. China has refused to adopt the Western type of democracy.
Totally.
You call it dictatorship and
Then
whatever.
they call it participatory.
Whatever they call it,
totalitarian.
but it is working for them.
It is.
They are able to manufacture, they are able to do all sorts of things
They've
because
lifted so many of their people out of
exactly
poverty.
same with Japan. They have inculcated their culture into their education system.
And
They
governance.
develop their language and so on. You are talking about using Chinese. That's what we needed to keep as Africa, but we lost that culture. I mean, I was laughing with somebody a few days ago on the COVID and cure and this issue of Madagascar and everybody
Very
saying,
controversial. Add Magufuli to the mix.
exactly. But I did a master's degree in intellectual property law.
Yes.
And one of the aspects of the intellectual property, we look at a subject called traditional knowledge. Yeah. Traditional knowledge is a law which has been developed to help countries like Africa, countries in Africa and Asia to keep their traditional medicines.
So that's where the culture for the Chinese, traditional
Exactly.
Chinese medicine,
So-
TCM.
Zambia is one of the first countries, if I'm not mistaken, in Southern Africa to have passed the law.
Really?
So Zambia has a 2016 traditional knowledge and folklore law
Really?
to protect folklore to Jatungani Twakumunzi,
Yeah.
so that nobody should come and get those stories and produce a song or produce a movie in Hollywood
Without express written permission, royalty
from
chakuti.
that community. So whoever wants to use that, they need to pay the community.
Yes, they do.
Now, this is where we've been losing it. These big pharmaceutical companies, they'll come and camp in the villages.
Yes.
They'll send the researchers. When you have a flu, what do you drink? No, we get that tree called muleza. We add in water.
Or
Then,
Monsoka.
yeah, so they will follow your argument, pick that tree, go and extract it, find the ingredients which cures, produces them in a capsule, and come and sell it to you as the cure for flu.
Yes.
Meanwhile, it came from that particular African society.
Quinine.
Yes.
Is a good
So,
example.
Traditional Knowledge Act is helping now to make sure that if any pharmaceutical company has to produce a drug based on an African knowledge, the community where that knowledge was taken has to be paid.
Yes.
Now, that's what we need to do to maintain our traditional aspect. We are shy. Yeah, we are shy to say this herb can cure us because we want to come out as Western.
So
until a drug comes from the Western country, we won't believe that it's in cure.
Let's run with that line because you've raised it.
Yeah.
Sondashi was one of the renowned ministers in
Yes.
the MMD era. He produced a formula, and now I already told you my thoughts on democracy, and I'm not shy to say them. I don't believe in democracy, absolutely do not. But that's neither here nor there. But let's talk about this particular one. Sondashi produced a formula which, as far as I'm concerned, me as a person who's not a medical personnel, who's worked in the herbal natural remedies space, know it works because we have testimonies.
Exactly, but
see, where is it?
Yeah, but because you need now to adhere to the Western style
which is
of clinical trials and whatever, frustration, and somebody just gives
10
up.
years.
Exactly, so somebody gives up. If that Sondashi formula was being backed by these big pharmaceutical companies, by now we would have had drugs being sold all over the world because it's patented.
So, but why?
It's all about money.
But okay, so I understand the money thing, but why can't we be a bit forceful about it? We have national scientific research and all those places.
But that's the point I'm driving at. That we have to start with Africa, and that is why I'm shocked that the Africa Union has not taken a position on the Madagascar herb.
I thought
because they needed to take a position and force WHO to conduct a clinical trial on that.
Yeah,
you cannot leave it to a single country. It cannot bulldoze the big companies.
No, it can't.
And that's where I say that we lost it the moment we change our culture of living. So to get back to your question, why are we not consulting the elders? Those who have been there before? It's because we have collapsed. Yes, we have collapsed that system on African system. In the village, you want to know how to kill a snake, you go and look for an elderly person who will tell you.
Yes.
I mean, look, how many diseases are in the villages compared to us in town?
There are very few.
Very few. They are surviving. You know, there's COVID virus, coronavirus. It's all in town. The people in the village, all these hypertensive, they're all
in fact, there's no hypertension in the village.
Exactly, because
it's only when they come and start eating the food here.
They've maintained their system, which is, which has lived for many years.
Yeah.
But when we start adopting a new system, you and me travel, we have now to learn how to eat raw food. We know how to eat cheese, salmons, and so on. That disturbs our diet and where we come from. So I believe that we have so many experienced people who are sitting, who have gone through some of the things which we're going through.
Thank you.
Some of the
because I don't think even this economic thing, I don't see maybe. I mean,
we said don't reinvent the wheel. People are there. Yeah, just consult.
So why don't we
just consult?
You think that this whole democracy and Western culture is what has made people not be able to say, you know what? Let me just get in touch with Sokotwane or
yes, but because the Western democrats now makes us, you and me, being enemies.
Yeah.
That
so there's that perception
because you belong to that political grouping. Your advice is not sound, or you are doing it because you want to score, to settle scores.
But do you remember that at one point, and again, we don't do politics on this show, but do you remember at one point that Monawasa, in fact, I think he was the first one, if I recall correctly, correct me, you were in the actual system, who actually crossed into the opposition. I remember the late Nguni was minister in
but you see you have to understand that in a context. It was not that he was tapping knowledge. He was tapping political power because he didn't have enough numbers in parliament. Therefore he needed to
balance.
No, he needed to make sure that he has the confidence of passing bills in parliament. He needed to consolidate his power base. So how do you consolidate the power base? He picked all the 4 MPs from Heritage Party. I remember General Mianda fuming.
Mad, yes.
All the 4 MPs were picked. He went to FDD. He picked some ministers from there, Jeff Samkonga, Chance Kabaye, mentioned them. It was all to consolidate his political power, not that he believed
in the concept of consultative governance.
No. Maybe you can give it to him on the appointment of Nganduma Gande.
Yeah.
Then he was more associated with UPND and he was picked as finance minister.
Yes. Yeah. But I remember that apparently when that man was picked, and again, we still don't do politics on this show, but I'm just saying this, we're talking purely on governance. When he was picked, I remember my uncle who I can't mention his name, it was a secret committee, was put together, and they were tasked with finding an individual that had the knowledge of helping Zambia, because remember the aim was HIPIC and quite a number of serious issues. We're in a very bad place economically, so there was that aspect, and I thought it was amazing because apparently they shortlisted, they interviewed. It was a very professional process. Of course, there was still that consent on the part of those being interviewed whether they'd be interested in taking up the job. And for me, that was one of the most interesting processes I ever heard of carried out in an African country, where a minister of finance was actually interviewed, and then when that minister came on board, he gave very clear parameters of how he wants to operate. And I believe that Mwanawasa had given that leeway, and I think it played a very big role. Some people blame that administration today. I don't know why. But they say, you people praise Mwanawasa, this is what happened. But you know what? They say numbers don't lie. Correct me. Yeah. Where do you see, where could we learn as people from purely a personal level in terms of this ability to tap into resource that's sitting freely around us, and the seeming inability? I call it the seeming because we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but from where we stand publicly, we don't see resources being tapped into, and therefore mistakes are being made that could be avoided. At a personal level, what could we learn?
Well, I think it's an issue of both sides. Those in the opposition should learn to exercise a bit of tolerance, that there's somebody and there's a government in power, which has been elected for a period of 5 years, whichever period it is, that during this period, it's the only government which will be in power, so we need to give some checks and balances,
correct,
but not unnecessarily criticize.
Yes.
And therefore, we need to find a way of how do we share our ideas with those in power so that they can learn one or two from what we used to do. I remember UPND then used to do an alternative budget to what the Minister of Finance, exactly, so that you compare the two budgets, and if they are able to pick from the other budget and you consolidate into their budget. That's constructive engagement.
Yeah.
Now, those in government also should exercise tolerance, that they are on a higher position. They are in power. So it is their job to listen to criticism, not to take, a hard stance, and just embrace everybody, because if you're a president, you're a minister for everyone. Whether they are UPND, FDD, and so on, you have to deal with them. So it is that ability of balancing that you need just to accommodate. But our system is so toxic that if today, Rev, you are a minister, you are seen having a tea with a member of the opposition, you are branded a traitor.
A sellout.
Or he's about to cross, or he was selling secrets, or we can't trust him. It is that creates the problem we're having.
So we're going to come back to you, because you need to tell us where it came from, because these things all have a genesis somewhere. So where did that come? Is it a hangover from the Shushushu days of Kaunda? What is it exactly? So I'm going to throw this back to Nono, and then after the news, we're coming back. I have on the show Mr. Dickson Jere, lawyer, advocate, as well as journalist and analyst. Very, very interesting. We'll be talking about a lot of things. So over to you, Nono, and when we come back, don't go away, don't touch that dial. You want to be on the show afterwards. Okay, so once again, it's Prosperity Insights right here, right after 6. 7:02 is the time, and I have my guest, Mr. Dickson Jere, a prolific man, and we are already enjoying this. I just wanted to touch a bit on the past and just see what's what. But let's jump straight into who he really is. One of the things that I've really enjoyed about this gentleman is his writing prowess. He's one of those that's a very good descriptive writer. And I wanted to just kind of run a bit with that. So, Jerry, back again on the show.
Yes.
Let's talk a bit about journalism. And I want to start first by making a statement myself. And then you'll correct me. And then we'll kind of go back into the past. I feel I've been, I don't read papers much, but I do get to pick up a newspaper or two. I do get to see a number of publications we do in Zambia. And the first thing that just hits me is the quality of English. Mdala. Aye, Kona. You know, some of us, I'm not a journalist. I did my English school and found I had a knack for writing. I used to do debates also like you, and I reached national level. In fact, I was like second best speaker in Zambia, you know, back in the day. So I did do debates, you know, but we were not fortunate enough to be on TV those days.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I did that, and so English for me became a very big deal. And I mean, right now I make a living writing quite a bit, so it's part of me. But I get shocked. The grammar, the structure, the syntax, what is going on, Jere? Please help me understand. What is the problem?
I think for me, let's forget about journalism. It's a sad story about our education system.
Yeah.
It is collapsing, and collapsing fast. I was sitting with one of my friends who happens to be a lecturer at Ziale, and he was marking the exam papers, and you would kill me when I come and read this sentence. Just come and read this sentence. This is somebody who has a degree
in law.
Yes.
From whichever institution.
Exactly. So how did this person pass for 4 years if you can't construct a sentence in English? Unfortunately, English is our medium of medium of communication.
Yes.
In our times, from grade 1 going up, English was a must.
Yes, it was.
You know, we did composition, we did reading,
comprehension,
spelling.
Yes.
We didn't have Google, we didn't have spell check.
No.
You had to get the spellings correct.
And the teacher would dictate.
Yeah. So writing became part and parcel of us. I mean, there was that composition. Can you remember? You know, to rewrite a summary of a passage.
Yes. Or a picture.
Exactly. That developed into us being good writers, regardless whether we chose journalism or not. Some of us who enjoyed writing, when I was at Munari, we had 2 clubs. We had Munari News Agents and we had Writers Association of Munari.
Amazing.
And the first time I went to Munari, I joined the Writers Association of Munari called WAM, and we used to produce newspapers.
It's amazing, Jere. I'll actually tell you that I did the same as well. I had Liwema.
I went through we started as cab reporters as Quios, grade 8, rising through the rank. When I was in grade 11, I was appointed editor-in-chief, the boss of this publication, Munari News.
Mine was grade 10.
Yeah, so I would write, put the stories on the notice board, and everybody who's board, they walk to the notice board to read what we've written.
Did you have that thing also that you went that you
exactly? Yeah. So
the printing press.
Yeah. So we went through all that, and so writing became part and parcel of us.
Yeah.
And so to fail English was something big,
unheard of.
Yes, because that was a day-to-day activity. If you have to write science, you have to write it in English.
Yes.
You have to answer a question in biology, you have to do it in English.
Yes.
So writing became part and parcel of writing. Then I remember my Unza days. Justice Mumbamalila, doctor now, judge of the Supreme Court, was teaching us commercial law. And one of the things he kept on saying, that you see, if you want to pass any exam, just how you start your answer on the answer sheet can determine your marks.
Please say that again, because there's a lot of people who are listening to this.
It kept on saying how you begin answering the question. That first sentence, first paragraph.
Wow.
Tunes the examiner.
Yes.
Whether this person knows what he's doing,
saying, or they're just
and
waffling.
what seriousness. You know, I had a good friend who actually helped me a lot in terms of writing, the late Joey Mwinga.
I remember Joey from the Post.
Yes, so Joey, we at some point we lived in the same house.
Yes.
So when he writes something, he'll pass it to you to edit
it for him.
Yeah. And he used to bang the table if there's a mistake in the first sentence, because for him that is a sin which is not forgiven.
Yes.
That you can have a mistake in the first sentence. So those are the things which have
So that's
totally,
a standard, isn't it?
yes. So they've gotten into me that never make a mistake in your first sentence.
I agree.
Read it 1 or 2, 3. You can make mistakes down. So back to Mumba Malira, you would say you read the exam paper. The good English entices the examiner to read on.
Yes. Because there's a flow of ideas.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, even the guy is missing a point here and there.
You're like,
He'll pick up my half marks,
You know what I mean,
because he
man?
writes well.
Yes.
You know, but now everybody just writes. By the way, this technology is killing us.
Oh my God. Let's not even.
Do you know one of the issues I do, which people actually say that I'm rude when it comes to that? That if you write to me what text message in those text message language,
Yeah, the time TYM.
I don't
or
respond. I'll just say,
AMI.
please write in English.
I'm telling you.
You know, before, be and for.
Yeah, that's
You know,
unacceptable.
but that, because you are now used in that text message writing, it is what you see in the exam
in the
paper.
exam paper. No, I'm seeing it in the exam paper.
This
I'm
is
seeing
what
it in
you see.
application letters. It's
Pe-
terrible.
exactly, people writing application letters in a text message language. In my time, it was now.
It was actually sacrilegious.
Now, forget about that. Forget about text message. Writing good comes with practice,
Yes.
but comes with reading.
Correct.
How many people read books? They would rather sit, watch a movie, and whatever.
No, they'll be on text the whole day.
Exactly. So, I mean, I tell people that I buy like 2 books in a month, and I read a book every week. Every week I read a book.
Yes.
Yeah. But you see, you read a book, subconsciously, you're picking some words.
Yes.
You're picking the construction of language. That's how you develop your writing skill.
Correct.
It's by reading, regardless of what book, but just read.
Yes.
That improves your flair of writing.
Agreed.
What we are seeing now, my goodness. I mean, those days you pick up a newspaper, you want to read Joey Mwinga. Beyond what he's writing, it's a language.
Yes.
You have a dictionary to check the word he has used.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that you
learn
learn
a new
something.
word.
Yeah, you have people like Edem Jokoto when he
Yes.
writes. It's a
And he's
something-
also very tough on the- on standards and
yeah,
English.
so that's what has collapsed. That
That's
we
tragic.
don't get to have good writers. I mean, you pick a newspaper, you can pick 4 or 5 newspapers. You read them. Apart from the editorial comments, which are well written,
Of course. Because
stories-
editors are terrible.
the stories are terrible.
Yes.
Terrible.
Yes.
In our time, we had gatekeepers. So a story has to go through a sub-editor to the editor. So if
So they'll make sure they clean up. If the thoughts are not adding up.
sub-editor will send it back to you. Go and write.
Can you put that properly?
Yeah, write it in English.
Yes.
It's in English, but you tell you go and write it in English. Yeah. So that has really killed our journalism profession.
So
I mean, I worked with from the local scene. I worked at international scene. Writing speed was, I mean, I'll tell you that I can write a story within 2-3 minutes, 500 words.
really, huh?
Yes, because I worked in what they
Because
call.
you have to create the story
Yes.
as it's happening.
So I'm at a press conference. I'm listening to the president talking. I'm writing a
Formulating
story
your
in
story.
my head.
Wow.
I come out, I sit on my laptop. I'm writing the story goes because I was a news agent's reporter, meaning time mattered.
Yes.
I have to break the story on CNN.
Yes.
Yeah. Before
Yes.
BBC, Reuters pick it up, I should be the first
And
one.
you were in what? AFP?
I was AFP. So
Yes.
that trained me to make sure that you have to read, you have to construct good sentences, because your story is being bought by Telegraph,
Yes.
by New York Times.
Yes.
So your byline is appearing in all these international papers. You don't want to have a story appearing there which has a bad language.
And of course,
Yeah.
they won't even pick it. Because once they
Exactly.
just see that the language is iffy, they're like, what is this?
Exactly. So that's what I learned, that you have to perfect the art. Nobody was born a good writer. Nobody was born a journalist. You get these traits by constantly reading, improving, reading other people's work,
Yes.
also having mentors.
But do you know that, Jerry, what I'm sensing, especially in this country, because I have seen that you talk about journalism, yes, it's terrible in terms of the quality of what is written. We're not talking about the stories, no, just the quality of the work. What I've sensed, and this has been a serious bemoaning I'm having right now, is just the overall standards. Because if there's one area which I'm going to take a swipe at right here, and you are a person who's got that experience being in the system, I'm very concerned with the quality of the civil service. I say this because I have colleagues of mine who've gone into various aspects of the civil service to work. You know, they go in there with all the chimwena. Let's talk about the one we are talking about, which is news and journalism and that space. So you go into the civil service in that space, and what do you find? You find lethargy. You find total like laissez-faire. They don't care.
Yeah,
So within
but
a short
also
time-
it's a collapse of the system. The civil service we used to call it a cadre of civil service.
Level and quality.
Yes.
of
For
what
you,
had here.
even to get a promotion in those days, I was not there in those days.
Of course,
You
this is
had-
the 70s and 80s.
You had to write an exam. That is why NIPA was created.
Yes, National Institute of Public
Administration.
Administration.
So for you to enter
Well,
civil
I think
service,
You've raised something
you
powerful.
go.
Let's talk about NIPA.
You go to NIPA. So even to get promoted from assistant director to director, you know, NIPA must satisfy this guy is capable
So,
to be a director.
tell me a question.
So
Are
we
you
had
saying-
NIPA. Then we had citizenship courage in Kabwe.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Which was part and parcel to train us to be the technocrats of government.
Correct.
Yeah,
Because
so
government
you couldn't-
executive relies.
You couldn't just enter civil service without this kind of training. At my level, when I was entering State House, yes, we had to at least, because President Banda was a
Old timer.
Exactly.
Yes.
man, experience having been minister under Kaunda.
MP. You know, he
Yes,
was in all kinds of spaces.
he insisted all my staff needs to go through that routine training.
Wow.
So we did NIPA, short courses. Then we did Red Brick.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Which is standard, of course.
no, it's not standard. We had to go now to be trained,
Wow.
because now you are entering this big house.
Yes.
The do's and the don'ts.
Yeah.
Yeah. How to carry yourself in public. You know what to say.
Not sorry to say, not bashing a bus and then coming out and going to beat the
Yeah. So there was all those issues which
etiquette, basically.
the old civil service used to do. They've collapsed. Now
So are
anybody
you-
can enter and come out. It's no longer the way it used to be, that as a civil, even just a dress code.
Yeah.
How you dress as a civil servant, you can't
Yes.
go with jeans to the office.
No.
You had to be always in a
Tie,
tie.
jacket.
Exactly, you have to be neat.
And I think that's what you're
Um,
saying is making sense, because I remember the late Michael Sata chasing Panji Kaunda.
We
because
came with the shorts.
Yes, he says no, go dress up properly.
Exactly.
And he was coming for swearing in, I think.
So those things are slowly getting
Fading.
eroded, and now we are taking it. It's normal to wear a t-shirt. It's normal to walk in with slippers. It's normal, you know.
So in short, what you're telling me is the standards dropped.
Yes, but so it's not only the standards to do with civil service. It's a standard in different shares of life.
No, I agree.
You
Because
know-
for me, I actually, to be honest,
Yeah.
I mean, look at the topic you just raised on journalism. I'm seeing the same story in medicine. I'm seeing the same story in many spheres. I mean, I get shocked personally. And I think I was even telling another young man the other day that if you want to improve and grow, go into the private sector. Because if you go into the civil service right now, you will get such wrong standards that when you transition to the private sector, you won't manage the culture shock.
Yeah. So I mean, it's something which we should all be worried
Yeah.
that you and me should be spending more time in improving standards. You know, there's nothing you can ever achieve without training.
Yes.
Training, retraining. Do you know, during my time in journalism, there was an institute which is still there called Zamcom.
Oh yeah. We went through that. With
Now I'm told
friends just
Zamcom now is a full university or a college and whatever. That was not what Zamcom was there for. Zamcom was established as an in-service training.
Really?
Yes, for journalists.
Wow.
Yeah. So those who are already practicing
would then go to
yes. So almost
like
every other
refresh.
week, we'll have one reporter from the Post who is reporting at Zamcom for a week refresher courses. And it used to be a regional training because people used to come from different countries to be trained at Zamcom under Mike Duck.
Yes.
So that was the instance. So if there's a new technology which has come, organizes a course, you go to be retrained.
Yes.
That helped to improve this. So you would see Daily Mail, Times, Post, Chronicle newspapers, all the reporters, they are being trained. So you are upgrading standard at the same time. Zamcom no longer offers in-service training. So each media organization...
Why are they not offering in-service training? What's the reason?
Well, maybe you see how that Zamcom used to work those days is that the media houses used to pay.
Of course.
Some kind
of... They were almost like a regulator of some sort.
No. They just used to pay
an affiliation
fee and course fees so that you keep on sending your reporters because you wanted
but this was standard, isn't
yes,
it?
you wanted to improve your standard of your journalism because you wanted, because if you're an editor, you would rather have reporters who are well trained.
Yes, so you do less. It's less work for you.
Less work for you. So that was what Zamcom used to do.
Wow.
It's no longer doing that.
That's actually making my heart bleed.
But also we have a mushrooming of community radio station. Yes, where the challenge is that they're in the villages. They can't afford to hire trained journalists.
Yeah, they can.
So you pick whoever speaks English in the villages
or
to
the
be
local language.
Exactly. So that then demoralizes the actual journalist. That look, you go to this radio station.
It's riffraff. So they don't even have a script.
Yeah. So I tell people who are in public relations that because of this mushrooming of media houses, especially the community one, which don't have trained reporters, what you need to do, in fact, that's what I did immediately I went to State House, was to change how the press release is written. Throughout, State House press release would be the way they write them. But I changed it to be a story. Yeah, His Excellency President Rupiah Banda today opened a multi-million-dollar project in Kawe, blah, 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 blah. To make it easy
for those who don't know how to
write or to capture the story. So just read my press release.
They're done.
They're done. So I was actually writing a story for them. Good for publicity because you are assured that
at least they will not mess up what
exactly. That's the advantage I had, and I'm glad that template is still being used.
Yes, I've seen it to this day.
Yeah, that was the idea. Yeah, that was the idea, is to help, especially community radio stations. They are in Lundazi. When they see this statement, they just read it in full, and that is why the statement has always been one page.
Yeah.
Again, it was deliberate. I said the statement must be one page.
So it minimizes.
Yeah, for radio to read and put it, even for newspaper, a reporter can just finish. One thing also we learned in journalism, which is not happening now, we were taught readers and listeners are lazy.
True.
So keep reminding them. Each story must have a background.
Yeah.
Each story must have a background. That is why we used to have very powerful libraries. Yeah?
I remember.
So if you write a story about what? Choose a topic.
The economy.
Yeah, okay. Let's write the story about the Kwacha.
Yes. Its history and where it's coming from.
No, you write. The editor will tell you, go to the library and check, when did we have this 20% fluctuation of the currency?
Yes. What was it like in 1995?
Add it to the story. Remind the reader, remind the listener. They are lazy. They are busy.
Yeah.
You need to tell them. It's not the first time it has happened. It happened in such a day.
I've seen that actually a lot on international stories.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because that's standard. You need to remind. There is a cyclone. The last cyclone similar to this took place in 1960. Always connect a reader. Spanish
flu.
COVID. Yeah, exactly. So always connect a story to
H1N1,
the history
SARS.
to what is happening now, so that people can able to, even those who are not there, should be able to say, oh, okay, so there was the Spanish flu. So
And
this
then, of course,
coronavirus is
those
not
who
the
are-
first.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then, of course, those who are quite like me, you force me, like you
To
did
go
with
and
your
read.
story,
Yes.
to now go and search for this guy. Start
Exactly.
reading. I'm like, oh,
But now you
wow.
read a story, it has no background. It's like it has just happened,
Yeah.
and that now leaves you, and follow-ups.
Yes. In fact, for me, I think follow-ups is really sad.
Follow-ups.
I mean, for example,
You know
we
what I'm
still are
waiting for?
waiting right now for the gassing. Like, what happened?
Exactly.
I mean, why? You just died and we're not hearing.
But
anything.
also,
There's
not
no
a few weeks
court
ago,
cases.
the president went to Victoria Falls. No, to Kariba.
Oh, yes. Yes.
He was told the water is it will take how many weeks to reach Kariba?
9 weeks.
Yeah. Are we getting?
Feedback.
Yeah.
No.
Because by now, reporters should be calling this guy. So tell us, where is the water now? Yeah. You told the president 9
right
weeks.
right now we've been told that the Kariba Basin or whatever it is flooding.
Yeah.
Zambezi, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Because it was in 9 weeks the water now reached there.
In fact, between me and you,
Yeah.
they told us that in April, this lower
Curfew lower will be on. Yes.
This is May Yendo Mkusira.
Yeah. So only reporters can do that
Yes.
by saying, the water is taking through. However, on such a day, we were told. You see, you always have to keep the reader in check, but also telling him or her that 2 weeks ago the statement was this, now it's like this. That's what journalism is all about, or at least the old school I belong to.
No. You know what? I just believe that it's a case of standards, like you say.
Yeah.
We need to take a few calls, but it's a case of standards because I believe that excellence is seen. I don't care how bad the situation is. If you want to operate in excellence, it can be seen, and no wonder those who do it excellently stand out.
Yes, but also there's been this social media thing which has killed journalism.
Yeah.
That now everybody can be a journalist so long as they can post something on social media and so on. And so that has also affected the quality of journalism.
I agree.
These blogs, then you have now WhatsApp groups, and newspapers don't make as profits as we used to.
Yeah.
You know, those days, there's a press conference at State House. People will still look for the newspaper the following day.
Yes, it'll be hot cake.
Yes, to read the side angles of
And I still remember
press
those.
conference.
And I still remember those. Picture in, picture
out. But now, the press conference is going on.
It's live. It's happening.
Yeah, but also there are tweets.
Yeah.
People are commenting.
microblogs.
Yeah, so reporters have very little
But I think this
angles
is
to
where,
get
in
because
my opinion,
they're exhausted in a day. The following day, you see the
story
headline, you
is
say, but
stale.
I watched it, I
Yes.
saw it on my blog, I read it on WhatsApp. Why should I buy a newspaper? So newspapers must now start getting something
That's what I want to
beyond
say.
what is normal.
Innovation.
Exactly.
Yes.
I was telling a colleague, Kenneth Gondo is a BBC correspondent. I was a BBC correspondent in Zambia too. He started doing some very interesting videos where he's posting on YouTube. He did one beautiful interview which I posted on my page with Mayukwa and the wife. My God, you should watch that interview. Please watch that interview, Mayukwa and the wife.
Okay.
I've never enjoyed an interview like that.
Wow.
The wife, she was talking. She's a wealth consultant.
Okay.
She's saying how they have invested heavily,
Okay.
how they're now planning to build community schools.
Okay.
Yeah, you and me, not few days ago, we are watching or following stories how Mayuka is finished and blocked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a wife saying how they've invested.
So you're like, okay, so who's now telling the truth?
Yeah,
so
and
social media is being social media.
they're even planning to build a community school. Yeah. Then today, Kennedy has just advertised another video, which I said, wow, this is a match watch. A friend of mine, Alfred Banda, is a mortician.
Yes, I know him very well from Livala.
I call him Marikola.
Yes, chosen heritage.
Yes, he's just been interviewed.
Okay.
How it is to live off dead bodies.
Correct.
And I'm looking forward to watch this interview.
Wow.
You know, so you can break into certain areas which are not ordinary.
A niche, if you like.
Yeah, so stop getting the usual stories. If you go with an expert, let's follow this water which is taking so many weeks. What is causing all this?
So features, what you'd call features.
Yes, a feature. Yes. A more detailed, a more
special report.
Exactly, special report.
I miss those special reports.
So then that will people be looking forward. Let me watch what.
And you know what I feel that this could be done on radio as well. I
Precisely.
believe somebody could come with a weekly, quote unquote, special. What do they used to call them?
You know,
tonight. You are journalists.
I have
the term for it.
I have this bad habit which I failed to
Get rid of.
Yes, I sleep with the radio on. Only one channel.
Which one?
BBC.
I could have guessed that.
Yeah, so I always have this small radio with batteries. So whether there's power, there's no power, I always listen to my BBC, and it's something which I picked up from my father. He always had this 2-band tuned into BBC. Now, BBC, they have these long features in the night.
Oh yes, I'm aware.
You know,
It's
sometimes I am
almost
fast
like eyewitness, huh?
Yes, I'm fast asleep. The following morning, actually, I remember there was a story on how this coronavirus started, how the doctor warned people, they never took him serious, how he died. A detailed piece on radio. Yeah. No, that's the ones
to
can
be
doing.
honest, I'm actually also. We need to take at least one call, but this is the same thing that I enjoy also with BBC Eyewitness, Al Jazeera. You know, they've got this in-depth. That's the word I was looking for. In-depth feature, and BBC do something called Eyewitness Report. That thing is mind-blowing because they'll go into a story. And they're so clever. They've now taken the social media, so they'll pick up all these phones and then construct a story around a breaking event. So like the Sudanese situation or the ritual killers in Malawi or, Tanzania and the burning of witches. So, then they do a very in-depth report. Amazing. And, and they'll literally pick information from people. Let's take a caller. You're through to Prosperity Insights. Who are we speaking to? Okay, your phone is, I think you've got feedback. Please switch that off the radio.
Am I good? Okay.
Okay, good. So, good evening. Who are we speaking to?
Mondwe.
Huh?
Mondwe.
Hi. Great. You're through. You can give us your comment, question, or contribution. We have Dickson Jere on the show.
Yeah, you guys talking good stuff, but I'm calling about, of course. Okay, my contribution is, you see, journalism must stay in Africa in the context of that. I'll give an example. The coronavirus is taking place. Other than like the COVID, Madagascar cure, okay? Why don't you have journalists to go and investigate that? The Madagascar cure. Why? Why do we take everything from BBC, Al Jazeera, CNN, copy and paste, we report? If you're a journalist, go and do an investigative piece on the COVID whatever cure in Madagascar. You understand me, Reverend? You can go to Madagascar, do it. People are there reports that people are getting healed. No one has died in Madagascar yet. Do a piece. We are fighting COVID in Zambia. If African journalists went there, did a piece, the results are there, the world will respect Africa. But we are busy copy and pasting BBC, Al Jazeera. We are copying all these CNN. Some of these channels have been caught lying about COVID-19. But we do copy and paste in Zambia. You see, it's like they know that whatever they say is gospel truth. No. Where are the journalists who claim to be journalists? Go and do a piece. Find out how many people have died with coronavirus, let's say 100% from the disease. Is the COVID-19 cure in Madagascar working? How are we faring in Africa in terms of our cure rate? Are we compared to Europe or America? Those will be the building blocks for the story to make Africa look like Africa is doing a good job in terms of overcoming this disease. But what do we do? BBC copy and paste, CNN copy and paste, Al Jazeera copy and paste. These mainstream media, remember, they are owned by people who are driving an agenda. Some of them are against African agenda. They don't like Africa to develop. They want Africa to be behind. We are busy copy and pasting what BBC says. Al Jazeera says, CNN says. But these guys have been caught lying so many times.
Mm.
But why don't we go and do pieces from our own evidence as Zambian or African journalists? For example, you watch ENT. ENT, is it ENT?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's South Africa.
Yeah.
ENT. That's just like CNN or BBC. It's boring. It's copy and paste. There's nothing substance about that. But what do? We do copy and paste. There is nowhere somebody respects you if you have no originality, if you have no authenticity, if you have no roots to build your own case. Nobody, whether it's an individual, an institution, or a family. If all you do is copy and paste, no one will ever respect you. Develop your own authenticity. Look at Rwanda. They are standing up in the world because of their own authenticity. They are standing on their own. Even their journalism is like that. They may have their own problems, but look at where they are. The day we begin to report, not copy and paste, our own Zambian stories, Zambian success stories, is the day they respect us. But for me, I'm a journalist, but I don't like BBC, Al Jazeera, CNN. I mean, I've gone through these guys. Most of them, it's copy and paste like a giver. And most of them, their agenda is against Africa. But let's do our own stories. Thank you.
Nice one. Any word?
Well, I mean, is absolutely right.
Yeah.
The Western media, they have an agenda. We need also to have an
Our
agenda.
own agenda.
In fact,
Absolutely.
I used to work for AFP, which is a French news agency. Then we have AP, which is American. Then the British have Reuters.
Yes.
So these three used to compete, and they used to do a lot of bad stories on Africa.
Yes.
So OAU sat and decided we need to counter.
Yes.
Then they came up with a fourth news agency, which was called Pan-African News Agency, PANA. And they had offices in each and every African country
Yes.
with diplomatic immunity.
Yes.
And I remember in Zambia, the PANA office was run by a good friend of mine, Mildred Mulenga. And she used to have this old Peugeot with a diplomatic number. Yeah, so we used to laugh at her, diplomatic journalist. But they tried, it's collapsed now, because the idea was also to feed the African angle to a story.
Yeah.
I mean, the Madagascar story is being treated like it's a joke.
Like it's a joke. Yes,
Yeah,
it's such a substantial thing.
And nobody's taking keen interest.
Yeah.
You know,
Of course, because like you say, there's an agenda.
yeah.
So they don't care.
But who should be giving Madagascar a hearing? It is we African countries.
But
Yeah.
don't you think this is where now? Don't you think this is where we have lost it, because we lost the plot, so to speak? Because, like you say, the standard has dropped. We don't have journalists who are a called journal. You know, like you, it's a calling. Because I read your stuff and I say, this is a calling. You know, I read, for example, what Chibamba Kanyama writes. That's a calling. You know, you can always speak Uncle Frank on radio. That's a calling. You know, you tell these are people, you know, the late, go back in the past now, all the Charles Mandos, you know, these were called. So, Joey Mwinga, you just spoke about him, Adam Jokoto, and the list is really long. And all these people, you could tell they carried substance. And so it wasn't about the money. It was about, you know, putting across this gift of giving information.
Exactly.
I feel that's what's the problem.
I mean, the certification in journalism, at least in my time, was for you to have a byline.
Yes.
You have to deserve it.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to write a
I
good
remember
story for
Uncle
you
Jeff,
to have Dickson Jere on a
the
story.
byline, not
Or else to be by
correspondent.
staff reporter
Yes,
or
yes. I
Daily Mail
remember what's his
reporter.
name, Jeff
You
Stanley
need
used to
to
say.
do something extraordinary for your name to be
To
there.
now become a byline.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, but those things, everybody can put the name there. The byline has lost its, significance.
Which is sad.
I mean, I remember I worked with a guy called Masao Sopiri. He's still alive.
I remember the name.
Brilliant journalist.
Yes,
He'll just
newspapers.
tell you, Avumbwe, all these are not stories. They're not stories. He used to call them, these are announcements. Yeah, we don't publish announcements as weekly posts.
I'm telling
We
you.
want stories. So the minister has announced the floor price of maize will be 60,000. No, that's an announcement. If he wants that announcement, let him buy space and put an advert. We need to go beyond that announcement. Let's go to the farmers. What do you think about
What's
this?
the story
Exactly.
here?
So I grew up.
Extract the
I
juice.
grew up also in a newsroom where we need to differentiate between an announcement and a story.
You know, I'm loving what you're saying, because I just recently watched a very good movie by this Gavin Hood called Official Secrets. Amazing movie. Again, it's very deep, and it's a story about the journalist that broke the story about Iraq and America and the lies that were pushed and it was really deep, because there was
Yeah,
such
I mean,
danger.
we were made to believe Saddam had weapons of mass destruction.
Exactly. So it was
Yeah.
an actual reporter who had the guts to put their neck on the chopping board and believe this secret, leaker of information. But this lady stood her ground as well when cracks came to crunch, to say that I believe I did not commit an offense, because when the British people are lied to go to a war on a premise that's not true, then my honor precedes. And that's heavy stuff.
In fact, I always laugh. I don't want to compare
Of course.
the period I worked and the period, but I thought our period was very tense. I mean, I can't count how many times I was arrested.
I'm telling you.
I've been charged with treason before.
Really?
Yeah.
Which regime?
1994 coup, I was linked to that.
Really?
I was arrested with Kaunda.
No way.
1999.
You're coming back for that story.
1999, I was charged with espionage,
No way.
together with my colleagues at the post, that were spying for the Angolan government.
Oh, I remember that.
Locked up, went through court, get acquitted. 1999 late, arrested at Zambia Air Force. Yeah, do you know that I was only allowed to enter military cantonment after my appointment as Stella? I was
way.
blacklisted.
You were blacklisted. So you see,
Yeah, so when I say I had a good time with
So in other words,
Yeah.
it was a very intense period, huh?
Oh, I mean, it was. I mean, going under, I remember I disappeared. The police were looking for me for 6 months. I had to go under. I don't know how many times Fred Membe had to go under.
Yes.
There was a time the Speaker of the National Assembly ordered the arrest of Lucy Chone Bright Mwape.
Yes,
and
yes.
You know, that was an exciting time. You are waking up in the morning thinking that there'll be a paper on the street. There's nothing, because the police just went and
just closed
sealed off the
yeah.
printing press and stopped the publication. You know, those were interesting times. You know, we didn't have a lot of responsibilities.
Anyway, but I guess your point. Because, I look at the quality of what you were producing, and I look at the quality, for example, and I'm sorry to say this because obviously maybe to make me sound bad, but I look at the quality of the reports that were coming out of a recent a name station that had their license revoked. And what made me cringe every time isn't the fact that they were reporting the alternative news, but the quality of what they reported. It for me, I wish they could at least have the standard of doing it in a standard that made everybody go, that's a good standard, and there's truth to that. And fine, yes, they've taken their license, but I look at what you people were going through and what the Post was producing and what is coming from this place, and I personally refuse to agree it's the same standard.
I mean, I remember at the Post we had all the editors, but beyond that, we still had
We need to wrap up.
two gentlemen who were lecturers at UNZA.
Wow.
Employed specifically to proofread. Yeah, Mr. Nsai, I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, he would come in the evening.
And literally go through.
No. Now you've done a dummy paper.
No way.
So he sits with his red pen on a dumb paper, marking the mistakes.
So meaning somebody had to now go back.
Exactly, before it goes for printing.
Whoa, because the papers I'm seeing today, oh my God, I cringe.
So we had
I cringe.
a proofreader employed specifically to proofread. You have editors, sub-editors who have done the reading.
Yes.
Before it goes, the final gatekeeper was
Is
a
the
proofreader,
proofreader.
who was not a journalist. He's not interested in the story.
No, he's just looking at
interested
the
in
language,
the
the
English,
flow,
exactly,
the
spellings, and
yes,
whatever.
commas, and
Yes, and he was paid for
apostrophes.
that. Yeah, I remember Mr. Nsai reporting at 18 hours in the evening and knocking off when the paper is done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was quality control.
Oh my God, we need to go back to that.
That was quality control. I mean, I remember one of the days where the editor, if a mistake has been seen in the paper, we would deduct
Money from that.
yes,
Because he should have read.
Mr. Nsai, you are employed to yeah, I don't even know where Mr. Nsai is. I'd love to meet him actually.
We need to go back to that, Jere.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a pity the time is done.
Crossword puzzle, Mr. Nsai has to go through it, make sure that
the words and the whatever
are correct, that leaders should not complain that crossword puzzle was wrong. Because there are some people buying a newspaper
for the crossword.
Exactly.
I agree. And in fact, I was very obsessed. I used to do that thing, and I would get upset at home. That's why I got my vast array of English crossword puzzle. Anyway, Jere, please, your closing remarks. We're totally beyond time. I've enjoyed this interview, but you're coming back again. We need to talk more. I think you raised such critical points. Personally, I bemoan the standard of journalism today, of English, the standard of reporting. And yes, they say that, not me, but they say that this regime has been very mean to freedom of the press. But I cringe also at the quality of what I'm seeing. What's your part?
Yeah, I mean, every government has issues to do with the press.
Yes.
I mean, government and the press can never be best friends.
Never, especially the free press.
All over the world.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, there's what's his name, Trump.
Yeah, and so if you want to compare which one is better, I mean, it's a bit difficult.
Yes.
I mean, like I said, me, I was charged with treason, I was charged with espionage in my
I
time.
couldn't believe.
Yeah, so it depends. But you see, it comes with a territory. As a journalist, you have to go some of these things. It comes with a territory.
Especially if you're going to be a truth journalist.
I mean, look, I was pushed to go and cover the Somalian war. Yeah. It's death, signing your death sentence. Yeah, but that's a career you chose to do. Just like the firefighters, they've chose to follow the fire.
Where people are running out, they are running in.
Exactly. So even journalism, you just need to do that.
I love that. It's such an interesting topic today. We had Dickson Jere. He will definitely be back in future. You know, right now, Prosperity Insights has taken on a very interesting angle. We speak to thought leaders, we speak to different people and their experiences. I'm sure some of you were looking for more juicy stuff on politics, but now we don't do politics on this platform. We do thinking. And I'm so glad that we went down this path of journalism and the deplorable standards of English that we're seeing in the name of reports. And I pray that somebody out there is provoked and somebody there is going to really rethink. I think the issues you raise on NIPA and all these standards in these places really needs to be revisited, because honestly, we can tell the quality of work it has suffered. And if we don't do anything about this, God wonders what we'll have by the time our kids are getting into the civil service. So from myself, thank you so much, Dickson. We look forward to having you next time. I will be calling you back.
You're welcome.
Indeed. So back to you, Nono. Until next week again, when we feature an African Zambian renowned entrepreneur in the space of events. Back to you, bro.
All right. Thanks so much, Rev. It's 19:46. We're going to take a break. Coming up at 20 hours is the main bulletin, and after that we go straight into radio after 6.
I always look